All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, very excited to be talking about quite the event coming up on May 17th, Fight Night San Jose, set to transpire. A lot of great local talent and a lot of big names coming through as well. And very excited to be talking to a very important figurehead of the Fight Night series, former Strikeforce champion, multiple time UFC title contender. I'm talking to Gilbert Melendez. How's it going, man?
It's going great here in the Bay Area. The sun is coming out. It's almost summertime. We're really excited about what we're building here, and things are good. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, and there is kind of a quasi tie into the whole Strike Force run and stuff like that. Just mentioning that you were a champion in that league and that was so huge for the Bay Area. So cool to see that you're kind of like paying back to that sort of culture and like a grassroots kind of way, just keep growing it and everything.
Absolutely. That's our goal is to revive Bay Area mixed martial arts. There's been so many great fighters coming out of the Bay Area. Josh Thompson was my nemesis. We fought a bunch of times. Nick Diaz, Jake Shields, Luke Rockhold, Cain Velasquez, Kung Lee, Frank Shamrock. So many great mixed martial artists came out of the Bay Area. But for whatever reason, it just kind of went down, and it kind of fizzled out. But our goal now is to create a platform to build these Bay Area stars, give them an opportunity to pursue mixed martial arts. And I think we've already made somewhat of an impact, and I can't wait to see what kind of impact we could have in the next few years.
Yeah, and it seems like a really full circle kind of moment too, just tying it into the whole Strike Force lineage as well, just with Scott Coker being so involved in this new promotion. I mean, just what a wealth of information to have in that kind of role, right?
Oh my goodness, man. I mean, Scott Coker is amazing at what he's done. One of the best to ever do it in combat sports history. And he's continuing to do it, right? And to have him as a mentor, for him to really lead this charge, to provide infrastructure, to bring his passion, his knowledge, his connections, it's priceless, but it's also just fun working with someone who is so down to earth, so like-minded, and a true martial artist. Really, truly loves the sport of MMA. He's not in here just, oh, I just want to get rich off this popular new sport. No, he's been in it for 40 years, and he's still hungry for it. He still loves it. Still has a lot of passion for martial arts. So it's just a pleasure to be able to get more time around him, to soak it all in, and to watch him in action too. He knows what he's doing, obviously.
Yeah, and I feel like you would have a similar mindset that you did as a fighter, just in as far as like, be a sponge, like that really growth-oriented mindset. I would think you would apply a similar, I guess, thought process to being around someone like Scott now that you're in this role in the space.
Of course. I mean, I always use martial arts as an analogy, as a comparison, and right now I believe like he's my coach, right? He's my sensei, and I like to think I'm almost a blue belt in this martial arts, in this promoting thing, right? Maybe a blue belt now. It's going to be our year anniversary. I still have a lot to learn, but yeah, as a soldier, as a student. You have to soak it all in and you have to give them the respect that he deserves. And I don't know everything to know about this, and I'm constantly learning. But mainly also, to be a champion and fighter. As a fighter, you have to have grit. You have to be tenacious. You have to want it, and you have to have the drive and the endurance. So, I'm trying to apply all that, and it's very exciting. I'm a year in. I want to keep the same energy, and I want to keep being a sponge, and I want to keep being a student. So yes, always. Oh, martial arts, every time I always apply it. Even when I talk to my wife, my daughter, my friends, I'm like, let me give you a martial arts comparison here.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. And just, yeah, cool to hear you're, at that blue belt level and stuff like that. Like, what would, it take to get you to that purple belt level as a promoter? Like, what are some defined goals you have for fight night at the Tech going forward? I would think that you have certain, I guess, like milestones you would like to ideally achieve with X amount of time going ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I believe one thing Scott does that he can do, and I'm a business owner in the gym business as well, and I really respect this, is Scott can do every role, right? There's no role too big, too small for him, but he's capable of doing every role. So, right now my role is to be excited, to promote, to sell tickets, to get butts in the seat. I'm also taking on more now of trying to match make more. I see him talking to people who record and the production and choosing the right production team. I see him talking about the camera angles. He's upset because there's shadows in the back. And I'm like, what shadows is he talking about? So there's even things that I don't even know I want to learn that I'm finding out as I go on. But this man can do everything you can do in terms of promoting, right? Yes, at this point, he's a boss and he knows how to hire the right people who know what they're doing. But there was a moment where I know he can do it all, and he's probably done it all. So as of now, I'm doing the grassroots, selling tickets, getting everyone pumped up, promoting, hustling, going to gyms, seeing the real hustle behind it, which is the same thing in fighting. You got to grind, you got to push, you got to outwork the competition. But the exciting things is seeing him talk to these big arenas, talking to these people that have not just his show, but concerts, him visualizing how to record it, him talking to people who want to maybe produce it. All this stuff is exciting to me. And I haven't even had a chance to even dabble in some of these things, because I'm focusing on others. But just seeing him do it and being patient and learning it all, it's exciting.
Yeah, and speaking of exciting, I mean, this Bobby Cerrone the third fight, I mean, undefeated Bellator veteran stepping up in a headliner that features, two unbeaten 135 pounders. So love to see that for sure.
Oh man, this is a great fight, and his opponent Lake G is no chump, man. I'm really excited about this fight, and that's our goal here, right? We want to produce stars, but the only way you can do that is by challenging one another, and we want to make that very um, normalized over here in the Bay Area. Listen, we want to take on all challenges. Yes, Bobby Cerrone the third is someone we're getting behind, but there's no doubt on my mind that we want to, we want the opportunity to see Lake G perform as well. So Bobby Cerrone the third comes from a Kajin Kembo background, and that's Hawaiian Kempo. And his family has a long line of history being here. He's the third, his dad's the second. They have a gym together. But Bobby Cerrone has that Hawaiian Kempo style, very good at karate. But why I think he can go far in the sport is you have people like Wonder Boy, Michael Venom Page. They have that karate style. But what Bobby Cerrone also has is very good wrestling, very good jujitsu. So once you're a really good wrestler and grappler, now you can really implement your karate style without just being worried about taking down, right? Some of these guys, they hit hurdles and being able to display their amazing karate striking because they don't have that full, complete game. He has that full, complete game. Obviously he's growing, becoming a better grappler, better wrestler, better striker, better MMA guy, but he's an athlete. He has the right attitude. He's building a squad. He has people following him, and I remember that when I was young, having people come seek you out because they want to train with you. And he has that it factor. A lot of people show up to support him, and they get real loud out there. So I love that. But on the other hand, you got Lake G. He's a Orville guy, I believe, and he's a Sacramento guy with Alpha Male, and he's had a lot of success at the A1 Combat Show, and they have a lot of faith in him out there. We're on this side of town, but they're on that side of Cali, and you better believe Lake G's ready to go. And I seen him wrestle. He can wrestle and grapple well, and he has very, very good top pressure. He drops his hips, and he can ride a lot of people out. He can do damage on top, and he's not scared to bang on his feet. So I really think this is a big challenge for both these individuals, and what a better platform for them to do it on is Fight Night San Jose. One of the O's has to go, as they say, and I really can't wait for this feature fight.
Yeah, and I mean, so many, individuals who are going to really like grow the scene in a more localized kind of way, like as we're talking about some California area lads, but just some really known names on the card individually for sure. Like Jessica Rose Clark obviously stands out in that sense. I saw Khai Wu is also on the event, who, famously trains with Mark Zuckerberg and everything. We got to get Zuck out cage side to this fight, I think, eh?
Oh, I would love to have Zuck. I love that he's training martial arts and endorsing it, and it's only great for our sport. People ask about, how do you feel about people like Zuck, or even I'll take it back to Jake Paul and I love it. I love it all. This is like something I've invested in since I was a young man. In early 2000s, I started training martial arts, investing in this, loving it before a lot of people knew about it. right? And now to see someone like Zuck, him and Elon Musk had a beef for a little bit, like they were going to fight each other. And, seeing him train, I feel like, Zuck's posture has even changed, just like there's something to say about not learning how to whoop ass, but taking an ass whipping, right? Like training, it's like so humbling and it makes you so much more durable. And you have a great understanding of what the power of martial arts can do for someone and how impactful it is. So I really love that he's into the sport. He's a real big fan of my fighter, Hyder Emil. He actually DMs him like, hey, man, great fight. And I think that's amazing that he really appreciates the fighters, and we would love to have him at the fight. And he has to go support his guy Khai Wu, right? Khai Wu knows what he's doing as well. He's a very good martial artist, and he's going to be laying it on the line as well. I like to see Zuck there. I'd love for him front row. I'd love to have him a box, but I think he might be there. But maybe he's going to be in disguise, hiding out from us. I have no idea, but he's more than welcome to go. Any martial arts fan, it would be great to have him. And as far as Jessica Rose Clark, it's really cool to honor someone. I know she's from Australia, but she's been a Bay Area person, hanging out at CSA with Coach Kirian, Fitzgibbons out there, and they've been building fighters as well. So to give her a platform to really, pursue boxing and Muay Thai is what she's trying to do now. And we've been giving her a stage to train and perform in Muay Thai. She's been doing a fantastic job, and, a big fan favorite out there, and someone we enjoy having on board.
And that's a cool part about this endeavor as well, because it's so, I guess, combat sports immersive. Like there's so many different things to look forward to on this card in terms of like something that would appeal to like someone who has eclectic tastes in terms of combat sports. Obviously, Cris Cyborg 6 round boxing match against Precious Harris McCrae fits very well within that too.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, something I was always pushing for, and I know Scott wanted to do, and again, I have to be patient with everything as well, is we always, we chose a ring for a reason. We didn't want to isolate any of the other dimensions of martial arts. And a dream as a martial artist, and as this sport becomes more popular, as martial arts in general becomes more popular, what a night it's going to be to have a fight night ring up, to have Muay Thai fights, MMA fights, kickboxing fights, and now boxing fights on the same night. I think it's just going to bring all the martial arts communities together, not just the Muay Thai and MMA, but the boxing community as well. And I think we're trying to bridge those gaps in the martial arts community. Bay Area has a lot of love, so I think it'd be great to bring everyone together. But to have Cris Cyborg, the greatest of all time, one of the toughest women to ever do it, the toughest woman to do it. All the championships he's have, Invicta, Strikeforce, UFC, PFL. I may be missing one in there, but she has done it all in the sport. And for her to come work with us and to join us and to kind of be behind us in this one is actually an honor. And I fought with her on the same card when she fought Gina Carano. That was here in the Bay Area in San Jose. She won her championship. I won my championship as well. And to see her celebrate her 20 years in martial arts with us is very exciting. And, really, really a privilege to have her out here. And, she's fighting pro boxer, 4-1. Precious is 4-1. She's no joke. She's ripped. She can slip, dip, and roll. These are things that you don't see in MMA as much. You don't want to get kneed. You don't want to get taken down. So that phone booth fighting, shoulder to shoulder action happens a lot more. And MMA people are unfamiliar with that. So for Cyborg to take that risk and to pursue her boxing career and to do it in front of us and our crowd out here is an honor.
And I'm curious because you talked about wanting to like have that, concerted effort with your fights being within the confines of a ring. Like, is that mostly tied to the fact that you guys are ultimately promoting multiple combat sports where a lot of them would normally transpire in a ring anyway? Or is there some kind of, I guess, competitive familiarity component in a sense, just because I know you fought in Pride back in the day and there was the ring dynamics and everything and all that. So did that kind of play a role into it in terms of like, oh, this is like the superior combat sports space, or is it more to just facilitate having the most combat sports on a show, I guess?
I think a little bit of both, but also like my history and Scott's history is we've been in the sport for a long time, and we recognize that the sport did not start in a cage. It started in a ring. And I fought in Pride. I fought in Shudo. Jake fought in Pancrase. Some of my friends, Dave Terrell, Nick Diaz, Nate Diaz, they fought in Pancrase, Shudo. I fought in Pride. A lot of the great fights happened in the ring, and I love the ring because of the history. I love the ring as a spectator to see. I love the ring because it's a square and you could actually corner somebody where you have these big circles where I think a lot of people can run away. And I'm not against the cage. I love the cage. It's fun. The cage is great. But I do think it promotes more action. I love using the ropes, bouncing off the ropes, a lot less people being wedged in against the cage. And ultimately, I believe it provides a better view for the spectators. I believe it increases the action for the fighters. And to your final point, which we were talking about, is it allows us to have multiple dimensions of martial arts inside the arena. So those are the reasons why I'm for it. But who knows? Maybe one day we'll just say we want to fight in a cage. Why not do one day a ring, one day a cage? It's like, listen, why not have a boxing champ, a Muay Thai champ, MMA champ, and MMA champ who does better in a cage versus the ring? This is martial arts, and the doors are always open. And Scott's very creative. I think we're always up for any sort of changes that the community wants. But as of now, man, I really enjoy the ring.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who's been watching the sport since 2004, definitely a ring guy myself. Like, I mean, I could get down with the cage too. I mean, see a fight take place anywhere, really. Even watch those like Russian hay bale fights sometimes. But
Exactly.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, to the point of like I mean, we kind of touched on Pride a little bit, and that was one of the subjects covered within that Dark Side of the Cage series. And I thought it was cool seeing you within the Nick Diaz piece, just because we've kind of touched on the scrap pack connectivity over the years. What was it like being part of that Dark Side of the Cage process and everything?
You know, uh, um, Robin, reached out to me and some of the people that are doing that. And so they made me feel comfortable. And, and they came out here to the Bay Area and I had the chance to sit down and chat with them. To be honest, I haven't seen the episode yet. I feel like I lived it just sitting there and chatting with it. And I'm always running around doing things, but you would have to tell me how it was. But I feel like, you do your best to really send you a message about how special Nick Diaz is and the impact he's had in the sport. He's definitely a pioneer in not just fighting styles, but marketing, authenticity. And I really believe, he was a true leader and still is. A lot of people will follow him because, he goes to the beat of his own drum and his convictions are so strong and he's just such a special individual and very privileged to have him in my life as a brother, as a friend, I look back on our journey and my story, and I hardly look back because I'm still trying to go, I'm still trying to push, I'm still trying to have an impact. But things like this allow me to look back and just like, wow, man, I was a part of something amazing and still am a part of something amazing. And to be able to be in Nick Diaz's circle, Nate Diaz, Jake Shields, Cesar Gracie, Dave Terrell, all these guys that have been around. It's certainly something special.
Yeah, and I love you mentioning Dave Terrell. I feel like he's a guy that is just criminally underrated in a certain sense, maybe to like the newer kind of crop of fans. But I just love the lineage that exists within martial arts and sometimes even with direct familial generations. Like I love the, Crone Gracie attachments to Scrap Pack and just, talking about Pride, his dad Hickson being such a huge figure and really getting them off the ground early on. So just cool to see everything play out. I would think it would be really cool for you just being at the nucleus of so many of these big things.
Oh man, it's amazing. It is amazing. Crone Gracie actually was just out here a couple weeks ago, hanging out, training with the team, and did a seminar, giving back. And yes, man, Crone Gracie first came to help me against Benson Henderson, who had when I was getting ready for my championship fight. And Benson Henderson has a really good guillotine, and but not better than Crone Gracie. So I brought Crone Gracie out, and we begun our relationship. And Caesar, obviously introduced him to us, and we all grew up on watching Choke, which is his father Hickson Gracie's documentary. If you haven't seen it, see it. And it's about Hickson, getting ready and going to Japan to fight in this tournament before the UFC. And, it was in a ring against different martial artists and him, going out there and succeeding and winning. And you could tell, you could see the martial arts way of him stretching out, warming up, doing his breathing exercise, jumping in a freezing cold river. These things were just like, wow, this guy's a real warrior. This guy's a real ninja, man. These things do exist. And, to be able to connect with the son who's also very strong and does the same things. And, just to keep the community together, it's super special. And again, man, what a blessing to be a part of this. We'll just call it a fraternity, a gang, a team, whatever you want to call it. It's just really special.
Yeah, and just the longevity of some of the guys still. I mean, I feel like Nate Diaz is still such a big figure in combat sports. They've got that, boxing win over Jorge Masvidal, and it seems like he's intrigued by, the idea of maybe coming back to the UFC even. Like I saw he was maybe talking about pursuing a title and just really having that fire in him for more UFC fights. So, yeah, just, love to see that.
Oh man, Nate is always ready. I talked to him. He's like, man, I can fight till 50 years old, Gil. I feel like that. And he's not lying. He's not lying. He's like probably one of the best conditioned athletes I've ever seen. Him and his brother, man, they're nothing. There's nothing like them. Their mental toughness, their convictions, their belief in themselves. It's so important if you want to be successful in this fight game. I'd love to see Nate do whatever he wants. I think boxing would be great again. I think MMA would be great again. I think he's not only a great fighter, though, he's a very good businessman in terms of, being able to know his worth, to be able to get the right fights, to fight at the right time, someone who's going to build his value, someone who's worth taking a risk on. All those things add up perfectly for him, and then he will pull the trigger and he'll make it happen. So I love to see Nate back in the ring, back in the cage, back anywhere, man. And great individual, great fighter, and the fans love him like no other.
Yeah, I mean, such an endeared figure, and I did mention Masvidal in there. I mean, that was a great victory you got in defending your Strikeforce lightweight championship and everything. And just, yeah, curious to maybe get your thoughts on some of the discourse surrounding him talking about a potential UFC return. Like, it seems like he's keen on a fight with Leon Edwards after that backstage scuffle they had X amount of years ago.
Are you talking about Jorge Masvidal versus Leon Edwards? Is that what you're speaking of?
Yeah, like I feel like I've just heard some like rumblings of him wanting to return to the UFC, and it seems like he's mentioned the name of Edwards a couple times as like a potential return opponent.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're talking about Jorge Masvidal, correct? Yeah, yeah. I don't speak with Jorge on a regular basis, so I wouldn't know 100%. But I think, t if we're talking about matchups and everything, I think that is a very good matchup for the UFC, for the fans. And, you get to these points in your career where, you want to fight, but the UFC model is you fight the best of the best and you're trying to pursue the championship. They really don't do these veteran fights, right? If they did, I would still watch, Rampage Jackson versus Randy Couture today. That's the kind of type of guy I am, but that's not their business model. So it would be interesting to see Jorge Masvidal come back, fight Leon Edwards. I think that's some unfinished business there. I think that's when the UFC can get behind. It probably would add up, make some good money out there. And I would love to watch that. Leon coming off of a loss, maybe doesn't want to grapple. Maybe if these guys stay on their feet and bang, they have backstage brawl. I can get behind it. I had the chance of fighting Jorge, like we talked about. Nate did as well. A lot of respect for that guy. A lot of respect. When I fought him, I knew how badass he was. Wasn't as much on the radar. I seen him fighting in the backyard with Kimbo Slice and all those guys. I knew I was fighting a gangster. I got very ready for that fight, and it was one for the history books for myself. He's a very, very talented guy and another guy who's done really good for himself in terms of business and promoting himself. So a lot of respect to him.
Yeah, no doubt. And I guess just, going off of what you were saying there, just how like, you really would, watch fights with the big names like a Rampage versus Randy Couture still today. Like it seems like a company that was really trying to get that like big name sort of model going was the GFL. And obviously they ended up canceling their pair of events that they had planned. And the California Commission, known as like one of the more I guess, like strict regulatory bodies, for lack of a better way to phrase it. And obviously, yourself and Scott Coker have navigated working with that commission quite well. I guess just in saying all of that, like, what were your thoughts on that whole global fight league situation, canceling those May cards they had planned?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I wasn't surprised, right? I wasn't surprised. They gave me a call as well. I was reached out, not directly, but indirectly by them, people that were recruiting, offer me a nice fat paycheck, to do 3 fights guaranteed. And, if anything I've learned in this business, and this is great talking with Scott Coker, working with them, he's like, hey, buddy, make sure if you sign a piece of paper, they deposit some of that money right in your bank immediately, right? So, at this point, if it's not a validated brand like the UFC or a validated promoter like Scott Coker, I'm not signing a contract unless there's money in my bank account the minute I sign that. So for me, I wasn't surprised. They were offering some pretty big numbers for a lot of people. I happen to be decent at math, and when they're talking about, oh, we're gonna sell this, we're gonna get these pay-per-views, and we're gonna get this much money for our television deal, it was just like unrealistic goals, right? Things just didn't add up. And when things don't add up, you try not to get too excited about it. So I'm not surprised it hasn't worked out. I think as things unravel, more and more fighters are just going to pull out and ask for their release because they're trying to kick the can down the road. But I think fighters are going to be like, nah, this is a red flag. It's time to move out. You always want new promotions because it's great for the ecosystem. But you could also smell you could smell fraud or a little bit of imposter stuff happening. And Unfortunately, that I think that's what happened. And not to say that these people's goals and intent and their minds weren't in the right places, right? Like I don't think this was malicious intent. I just think it was just unrealistic goals and not a formula that was sustainable. And again, kudos to the California Athletic Commission, Andy Foster and the team out there. Their job is to protect the fighters, to make sure they get paid, and to make sure that they're taken care of and they're doing their job. Imagine if that whole card went through and none of those guys got paid or they got stiffed or something like that happened. It's like that's California's job. Put that money in escrow, boys. Make sure it's there to pay these fighters. They're putting their lives on the line here. Last thing we're gonna do is let you stiff them right here. So that's their job, and that's why we're here in Cali, man. This is, and I'm biased here, but it's the greatest state in the U.S. And I love it, and I love it because we're not messing around out here. So we do appreciate Andy Foster and the California Commission for protecting these fighters and promoters, right? We got to protect ourselves, and everyone wants to make sure we're doing things right, and that's why they're here. Job well done on their end.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting because you mentioned the fact that GFL had sent an offer your way, and it seems like from certain source material that I've referenced on you, you're obviously like predominantly focused on other things in terms of contributing to the combat sports culture, but it seems like you would be down to get back out there and compete a bit more if like the right offer were to come along. Like I guess in saying that, like what would be representative of the right offer that would maybe compel you to want to get back to some form of combat sports competition?
Yeah, Dylan, there you go. I love it. I love it. I would love to get to combat sports again, of course. Right now I have a lot of momentum in life, right? And momentum is one thing I learned that's crucial in your fight career too. When you're fighting, you got momentum, you should run with it. Right now I got momentum and building gyms out here in San Francisco. I have my HQ. I have 3 other gyms moved around here in San Francisco, a small radius, but a very dense city. So I'm growing in that department, giving back to my community and coaching. And I have this project with Scott Coker we've been working on, and that's bringing Bay Area mixed martial arts to life. I'm invested in it, and I could see value in these investments. So I want to keep the momentum. So in order for me to stop and all this momentum, the price has to be right. When you become a fighter, it's like everything else has to be put aside. And that means, I eat, sleep, train, just rinse and repeat. I get grumpy. I don't want to talk. I don't want to answer phone calls. I'm just dialed in. It's a certain type of lifestyle. And if I'm going to step back in the ring or in a cage, I have to give the sport the respect it deserves. I have to respect the mats. I have to respect martial arts. If I don't, you're going to pay hard for it, right? But, with all that said, how fun would it be to have a fight, maybe even on my own card one day, maybe in my backyard and where I've done it all. That excites me. Fighting for myself, fighting on my own terms, fighting the right opponent. And yes, the pay is a big deal, but just the right everything, right? The right opponent, the right location, the right promoter behind me, those things all matter at this point, right? That like the just to make sure everything is lined up the way I like it. And GFL was, hey man, the money did look good, could be better. Oh man, there's some killers in there. I really have to be ready. This is iffy. You know what, man? It's really not worth me committing to it right now. So, that's where I was at.
Yeah, I feel that. And it's exciting to just see you compete in really any kind of discipline. So, yeah, if we can make something work, that would obviously be something that I think a lot of people would want to see. Like, I thought it was cool that you did that quintet grappling match against Sean O'Malley in December 2019. I guess in saying that, like, what are your thoughts on them booking that championship rematch with Sean O'Malley and Morab Dvalishvili coming up this summer?
I'm excited. I'm a big Sean O'Malley fan. I love his style. I love how he's really, marketed himself and played his cards right. And it's fun to watch young men and young ladies. You watch them grow in their careers, not only in their fight game, but just mentally and how they carry themselves. And it's fun. It's fascinating for me. Marab too, a special character. And man, his fight against Usman, or is that his name, right? Usman or Umar, or this last
Yeah,
fight
Umar.
he
Yeah.
had.
Yeah. Yeah.
Umar, that's who it was. Man, holy smokes. Umar's an animal. I saw his fight against Sam Hagen and then him against Morab. I was like, holy smokes, man. These guys brought the best out of each other. And Umar really helped Morab by pushing him. And you see how really good Morab is. And as I break that fight down, the first time I was like, man, maybe he gets sniped on the way in and he gets clipped on the way in, Morab against O'Malley, and O'Malley, you've seen Morab kind of get buckled. Henry Cejudo buckled him, and people buckle him on the way in because he just leaps in. So I'm like, man, if Sean O'Malley's going to just, sniper him and get him. If Sean O'Malley wasn't injured, if Sean O'Malley was 100% and he felt amazing that night and nothing was wrong with him mentally or just didn't feel off, then I don't see him, being successful this second time around. I just don't see it. I don't see him getting that much better at defending takedowns and getting off a bottom in that short of amount of time. So, I think it's a great matchup. It's exciting for the sport. I think Sean O'Malley might be the biggest star in the sport or was the biggest championship star in the sport for a minute. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But yeah, I really think it's leaning towards Marab on this fight again. It's hard to pick against him after that first performance.
Yeah, and you mentioned the surname of Nurmagomedov. Like I don't know, there's so many fights that go on, you kind of forget some things as time passes. I almost forgot that you were supposed to fight Khabib at UFC 170, and then that ended up being canceled. Like, just it's so interesting. Like I was talking about the lineage of martial arts before, and just seeing where people go. Like obviously he had a very standout career as a fighter, but it seems like he's doing such great things now, guiding the careers of guys like, Umar, as you mentioned, Usman Nurmagomedov as well, Islam Makhachev, etc. Just really, incredible to see like how great he was as a competitor and now seemingly in like the coaching kind of capacity also.
Yeah, undeniably, I'm like, I'm obviously on a different team than Khabib, but from the outside, you're just like, this guy is not just a champion in the ring, man. This guy is a true champion in life, right? Like this is like, man, this is a real man right here. He loves his family, he loves his team. He rides hard for him. He's trying to have an impact not just on this MMA world, but on his country and just the whole world himself. And a really great leader, and respect him a tremendous ton for just what he represents and everything. And yes, I almost did fight him, and I really would have been interested in that time. I think Khabib is a great fighter. I think the best of the best to be greatest of all time. you need to hang around the sport a lot more to prove that. And what I mean by that is, I'll just go back to the Russian wrestler Alexander Karelin, who is a three-time gold medalist, one-time silver medalist. Is He was the best in the world. Wow, you're great. But then 4 years later, there's a whole new batch of young bucks who are waiting to come get you. Karelin took them out again. 4 years later, there's a new group of bucks that come out, and he took them all again, right? So, I believe Khabib is great. I think, he is a great champion, but I do believe that he left some on the mats, and I wish we could have seen more of him to really prove if he was the greatest of all time. I think he could have fought some better grapplers. Gleason Tabao, might have got the W on him. And Ale Quinta was a solid grappler who you can see when not just wrestling, but jujitsu, how to get back to your feet. And he knew how to get back to his feet. And if Ale Quinta was a better striker, maybe those fourth, fifth rounds, you could have really got some strikes in. Where other guys, hey, you could put them on the ground, and they were better strikers and not so much grapplers. So he put them away, and unfortunately we didn't see him against Tony at his right time. I think Kevin Lee at his right time too, before he went down. These are just guys who are tough matchups for him. And that's what I believe I was for him, right? No one can really hold me down. I know how to get off a bottom. And I would have been really interested to see how I can do against him on the bottom, because no one can hold me down. Maybe Jake Shields, but no one can hold me down. And at that moment, I was pretty peaked up, and I was excited for that fight. That's a long assessment there of it, but a lot of respect for Khabib and what he's done. Gone too soon for us in the sport, but respect for him doing what he's doing.
Yeah, a lot of respect to you and what you've done as well, man. This was definitely an interview I've wanted to do for a while now, and super excited for Fight Night San Jose on May 17th, man. Just great to see what you're doing in the promoter kind of role now, and just so many great talents on that card, as we said, like Cris Cyborg, Khai Wu, Jessica Rose Clark, and just, yeah, barely scratching the surface in that regard. So all the best with the event coming up, man. Seems like a great card, and just super appreciate the insights today, and also have a good rest of your day, man. All the best.
Hey, Dylan, I really appreciate